I was about 17 or 18, and a friend of mine called me and said, Joe Zavino, who was the leader of Weather Report, is going to call you. And I said, why is he going to call me? Because he and Jocko had an argument.
Marcus's life had always been a tough one, but despite everything, he didn't lose hope. The troubled man held on to the one thing he had, his rap talent. He knew things would become better, and just like he hoped, they did when Snoop Dogg saw him outside Walmart dropping the hardest lines he had ever heard. What Snoop Dogg did next will leave you in tears. It was a cold evening in Long Beach, and Snoop Dogg was feeling nostalgic as he strolled toward the Walmart near his neighborhood. Dressed casually in a hoodie and sweatpants, his unmistakable swagger was still present, even in the subdued atmosphere of the evening. He had no entourage, no cameras, just a quiet moment to himself to pick up a few essentials. For Snoop Dogg, this Walmart wasn't just a store. It was a small connection to his roots, a reminder of where he came from before fame found him. As he approached the automatic doors, something made him pause. It wasn't the hum of the shoppers or the distant sound of car horns. It was a voice, a rhythmic, raw, and powerful voice that cut through the chill of the evening air. Intrigued, Snoop Dogg glanced toward the source of the sound and spotted a man standing just outside the store. The man, dressed in layers of tattered clothing, had a presence that was impossible to ignore. His skin was weathered, his beard unkempt, and his eyes carried the weight of years of hardship. Clutched in his hand was a battered tin can, the loose change inside jingling softly with every beat of his movements. But it wasn't his appearance that caught Snoop Dogg's attention. It was the man's words. He was rapping, and not just any rap. This was the kind of raw, heartfelt flow that made Snoop Dogg's chest tighten. The man's voice carried a haunting mixture of pain and resilience, the kind of authenticity that couldn't be manufactured. Each verse seemed to spill out of him like it was etched into his soul, his lyrics painting a vivid picture of a life filled with struggles and shattered dreams, but also defiance and hope. They look down on me because I'm down on my luck, but I've still got my words, and I'm still standing up. Lost my crib, lost my fam, but I won't lose my voice. This mic's my salvation, my weapon, my choice. Snoop Dogg found himself rooted to the spot, his usual composure giving way to a flood of emotions. The man's words hit close to home. They spoke of struggles Snoop Dogg himself had witnessed growing up in the streets, of nights where dreams were the only escape, where music was the only way out. He watched as the small crowd that had gathered tossed coins into the tin can, murmuring their approval as the man's words continued to spill out like poetry set to a silent beat. But Snoop Dogg wasn't thinking about spare change. He was thinking about the fire in this man's words, the undeniable talent that was being overlooked. As the man wrapped up his verse, Snoop Dogg finally stepped forward, the crowd parting instinctively as they recognized him. The rapper looked up, his expression a mix of surprise and guarded hope. Instead of walking away after a quick compliment, Snoop Dogg sat down next to Marcus on the cold concrete outside the Walmart entrance. It wasn't the kind of thing people expected to see from a global icon, but Snoop Dogg didn't care about appearances. For him, this was about something real. The crowd of bystanders, including Walmart employees on their breaks, stood frozen, watching the unlikely scene unfold. Whispers filled the air, with people nudging each other and pointing. Is that really Snoop Dogg? Sitting down with him? Meanwhile, Marcus looked at Snoop Dogg in stunned silence. He wasn't used to people paying attention to him, let alone a celebrity of Snoop Dogg's stature. When Snoop Dogg spoke, his voice was calm and genuine. Man, I've been where you're at, Snoop Dogg began, gesturing to the streets around them. Not exactly, but I know what it's like to feel like the world ain't giving you a fair shot. But what if you just spit back there? That was real. That was fire. Marcus chuckled nervously, brushing his hand through his hair. Thanks, man, but I don't think anyone cares about what I got to say. Been out here for years, rapping to myself mostly. People just walk by. Snoop Dogg leaned in, his eyes locking on Marcus's. Well, I care, and trust me, if you keep doing what you're doing, the world's gonna care too. You've got talent that needs to be heard. What's your name? The man hesitated before replying. Marcus. Folks call me M-Dub. Snoop Dogg nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. Reminds me of the old days, back when we were all just trying to make it out. Have you ever thought about doing this for real? Marcus's eyes widened. Every day, man, but out here it's hard to see how. Snoop Dogg put a hand on his shoulder. Well, don't worry about that anymore. We're gonna change that tonight. For the first time in a long time, Marcus felt hope. The duo would then sit there for hours as Marcus shared his story. He spoke about his early years, how he'd started rapping in high school and had big dreams of making it. But then his mother passed away, and everything fell apart. He fell into depression, made some bad decisions, and before he knew it, he was on the streets with nothing but a few notebooks filled with lyrics. I kept rapping, though, Marcus said, his voice breaking. It's the only thing that makes me feel like I'm still alive, you know? Snoop Dogg nodded, his expression serious. I feel that, bro. Music's got that power. It heals you, and your words, they got the kind of truth that can heal other people too. We're gonna make sure they hear it. Marcus blinked, stunned. Wait, what? Are you serious? You don't even know me, man. I don't need to know you, Snoop Dogg replied, his voice steady. Your words told me everything I needed to know. Let's change your life, M-Dub. The small crowd around them gasped audibly. Walmart employees huddled by the sliding doors, one of them whispering, He's actually gonna help that guy. That's wild. True to his word, Snoop Dogg invited Marcus to his studio the very next day. Marcus arrived clutching a beat-up backpack and his prized notebooks, looking both nervous and excited. He was greeted by Snoop Dogg and his team, who treated him like family from the moment he walked in. You're here now, Snoop Dogg said as they stepped into the recording booth. This ain't about what you don't have, it's about what you do, and you've got something special. Marcus poured his heart into the mic that day, delivering verses that were raw, emotional, and deeply personal. Snoop Dogg himself jumped on the hook, creating a track that told Marcus's story in vivid detail. The song, titled Still Standing, captured the pain of Marcus's past and the hope for his future. But Snoop Dogg didn't stop at just one song. He took Marcus under his wing, teaching him about the business side of music, how to protect his rights, market himself, and build a brand. You gotta be smart out here, Snoop Dogg said during one of their late-night sessions. This ain't just about rapping, it's about owning your story and your future. To give Marcus a real shot, Snoop Dogg signed him to his label and personally promoted Still Standing on his social media platforms. The response was overwhelming. Within days, the track went viral, and Marcus's story spread like wildfire. Fans from around the world flooded his comments, praising his talent and resilience. With the donations pouring in from a crowdfunding campaign Snoop Dogg had set up, Marcus was able to get a small apartment, new clothes, and the tools he needed to keep creating music. It's like a dream, Marcus said during an interview. One day I'm rapping outside Walmart, and the next, I'm in a studio with Snoop Dogg. I don't even know how to thank him. But Snoop Dogg didn't want his thanks. For him, this was about giving back. We all have a responsibility to lift each other up, Snoop Dogg said when asked about his act of kindness. Marcus didn't need a handout. He just needed someone to believe in him. The release of Marcus's debut track, Still Standing, marked the beginning of a journey no one could have foreseen. It wasn't just a song. It was a raw, unfiltered testimony of survival, resilience, and hope. Backed by Snoop Dogg's mentorship and featuring the rap legend himself, the track immediately resonated with listeners worldwide. Within a week, it climbed to the top of streaming charts, garnering millions of plays and dominating social media conversations. Music critics were quick to praise the song for its authenticity. One publication wrote, M-Dub's Still Standing is not just a song, it's an anthem for anyone who has ever felt beaten down by life, but found the strength to keep going. Fans flooded the comments on Marcus's social media, thanking him for giving a voice to their struggles. For many, his story was more than inspiring. It was a reminder that redemption was possible. As the track became popular, Marcus, now performing under the name M-Dub, became an overnight sensation, but his newfound fame didn't change him. It amplified his purpose. Marcus used his platform to advocate for homelessness awareness, often sharing his experiences to shed light on the struggles of those living on the streets. "I know what it's like to feel invisible," Marcus said in an emotional interview. "To have people walk past you like you don't exist. Music saved me, but it shouldn't take a miracle for someone to get a second chance." True to his word, Marcus dedicated a portion of his earnings to shelters and community programs aimed at helping the homeless get back on their feet. He partnered with local organizations to fund housing projects, provide job training, and deliver essential resources to those in need. His advocacy earned him admiration not only from fans, but also from policymakers and nonprofit leaders who lauded his efforts to create meaningful change. Months later, Marcus returned to the Walmart parking lot where it all began. This time, he wasn't rapping for spare change. He was the headliner for a charity concert Snoop Dogg had organized to support local homelessness initiatives. A makeshift stage was set up in the parking lot, and a crowd of hundreds gathered to see the rising star who had captured their hearts. When Marcus stepped onto the stage, he paused, scanning the crowd. His eyes locked on a man standing near the back, a familiar face he recognized instantly. It was the same man who had once dropped $1 into his tin can when he was rapping on the corner, years before fame found him. Overwhelmed, Marcus had to take a moment to compose himself before starting his performance. The energy of the crowd was electric as Marcus delivered a passionate set, including Still Standing and new tracks from his upcoming album, From the Streets to the Beats. Each lyric carried the weight of his journey, and the audience felt every word. By the end of his performance, tears streamed down Marcus's face as the crowd erupted in applause. Snoop joined Marcus on stage for the final song, and when the music ended, the two embraced. It was a full-circle moment that left the crowd cheering and wiping away their own tears. "This man right here," Marcus said, pointing to Snoop Dogg, "is the reason I'm standing here today. He didn't just hear my music, he heard me, and that changed everything." Marcus's story didn't just inspire fans, it sparked a broader conversation about the power of giving people a chance. News outlets covered his journey extensively, and his interviews often went viral. Snoop Dogg saw potential in someone society had written off, one journalist noted. It's a reminder of how life-changing a single act of kindness can be. His debut album, From the Streets to the Beats, released a few months later, was a commercial and critical success. Tracks like Hunger Games and Paper Dreams showcased his lyrical depth and knack for storytelling, solidifying his place in the music industry. Through Marcus's journey, Snoop Dogg reminded the world that sometimes all it takes to change a life is for someone to stop, listen, and believe in the potential hidden behind the struggles. Do you think Snoop Dogg did the right thing by helping homeless Marcus? The unwavering dedication of Mother Teresa to the cause of the poor and sick cemented her reputation as a symbol of love and selfless sacrifice. Throughout her life, she tirelessly served those in need, embodying a spirit of relentless compassion. For instance, when Mother Teresa received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979, she insisted on holding the ceremony unconventionally. Instead of using the prize money for her organization, she requested it be used to help people experiencing poverty in India. However, her legacy is more complex than many realize. While widely admired for her work, some aspects of her life and practices have been subject to continuing debate. In her acceptance speech, Mother Teresa said her core mission is love and charity. She emphasized the importance of loving others with the same depth we reserve for ourselves. She drew a powerful parallel between this principle and the ultimate sacrifice of Christ. Mother Teresa added that compassion was her guiding light. Beyond her well-known advocacy for the underprivileged, she also addressed critical social issues like abortion and drug abuse, while reminding people of the enduring hope and joy of Christmas. While many admired Mother Teresa's tireless dedication to serving others,
Mother Teresa started the Missionaries of Charity to help the poor on the streets of Calcutta, but soon the religious orders spread throughout the world.
What we can reveal next will shock you. One of her private letters recently found reveals a hidden dimension to her life. Written to Reverend Michael Vander Peet, the letter offers insights into her internal turmoil. Here, a stark contrast emerges between the unwavering faith she projected publicly and the profound spiritual loneliness she dealt with privately. It is important to note that Mother Teresa's spiritual struggles are not unique among saints and religious figures. A similar experience, known as the Night of the Soul, has been documented throughout history, with figures like Saint John of the Cross describing periods of intense doubt and a sense of separation from God. Before we go further, it is important to provide some context into the personality of Mother Teresa and the nature of the purported letters. Who is Mother Teresa? And what letters did she write? During her lifetime, Mother Teresa made a lot of powerful public statements. However, despite her public pronouncements on Christ's boundless love, Mother Teresa's private writings revealed a harrowing internal struggle. Her letters documented a profound spiritual emptiness, a haunting silence that left her feeling utterly alone. This existential battle, spanning decades, painted a poignant picture of her inner conflict. 11 weeks after expressing this deep despair, Mother Teresa delivered her Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech with her trademark smile. The stark contrast between her public demeanor and private suffering shows the complexity of her faith. The release of these private letters significantly impacted how the world perceived Mother Teresa, who was previously revered as an icon of unwavering trust. While outwardly exuded purity and serenity, her inner world grappled with a profound sense of God's absence. But what scientists found about her condition is even more enjoyable. A study by the University of Pennsylvania suggests that up to half of clergy experience periods of doubt and questioning throughout their careers. This proves the universality of human experience, even for those dedicated to their faith. Before going deeper into the letter, let us give a little context into the person of Mother Teresa. While several people know her as Agnes Gonsha Boyakshiu, Mother Teresa wasn't born by that name. She was christened Agnes Gonsha Boyakshiu, with Gonsha translating to flower bud in Albanian. This detail adds a touch of symbolism to her life, which is dedicated to serving the most vulnerable. The world was sad when Mother Teresa died on September 5, 1997. The woman affectionately known as the Saint of the Gutters breathed her last at the Missionaries of Charity headquarters in Kolkata. Years of declining health, including lung, heart, and kidney issues, culminated in a fatal heart attack. Her devoted sisters, clad in the order's signature white and blue saris, surrounded her. A close confidant, Sunita Kumar, recalled Mother Teresa's final words as a poignant whisper, "I can't breathe." Sister Neera's announcement of Mother Teresa's death sent shockwaves across the globe. Tributes poured in from dignitaries like Pope John Paul II and President Clinton hailed her as a beacon of love and compassion. Yet, on the bustling streets of Kolkata, she found her calling and built her legacy. Mother Teresa's selfless love crossed religious boundaries in India, a predominantly Hindu nation. While Princess Diana was the Queen of Hearts, Mother Teresa embodied the spirit of India's poor and oppressed. When news of her passing arrived, it jolted the nation awake, a poignant reminder of the immense loss. Mother Teresa spent her life traveling the globe, offering solace and assistance with an ever-positive outlook. However, unbeknownst to many, she harbored an internal battle. The truth about this inner turmoil only surfaced near the end of her life. Some people have suggested that the letters were manipulated to soil the image of this set. How was the letter discovered? Were they really written by Mother Teresa or some naysayers?
The letters. It chronicles the untold story of the struggle and isolation she endured as she served the poor in Calcutta, India.
4 years after the passing of Mother Teresa, a startling revelation came to light. Archbishop Henry de Souza disclosed that she underwent an exorcism just months before passing. Mother Teresa was convinced that she was possessed by a demon and consented to the ritual in November 1996 during a hospital stay in Kolkata. A version has it that she had repeated sleepless nights during hospitalization. This prompted Archbishop de Souza's intervention. While this experience with an exorcism is widely reported, it's important to note that Archbishop de Souza clarified that it wasn't a formal exorcism. He stated that a prayer from the rite of exorcism was used, but he didn't believe Mother Teresa to be genuinely possessed. It is also important to point out that while exorcisms are traditionally associated with demonic possession, the Catholic Church also recognizes the concept of oppression, a lesser form of spiritual distress caused by external, malevolent influences. This distinction suggests that Mother Teresa's experience might not have necessarily involved full-blown demonic possession. Archbishop de Souza sought assistance from Father Rosario Stroschio, who then led a half-hour prayer service over the ailing nun. This service echoed elements of an exorcism ritual, lending credence to the Archbishop's claims. Father Stroschio later suggested that Mother Teresa exhibited unusual behavior before the prayer session. He elaborated on how even saints have historically grappled with spiritual challenges. Remarkably, Mother Teresa reportedly experienced immediate peace and tranquility after the service. Archbishop de Souza also suggested that Mother Teresa's exceptional holiness made her susceptible to spiritual attacks, implying that even saints are not immune to evil forces. However, alternative explanations for the intervention exist. You will be thrilled to find alternative explanations for Mother Teresa's situation. Here is how it all started. This promises to be revealing. In 2003, the publication of a book titled Mother Teresa, Come Be My Light sent shockwaves through the religious world. This compilation pieced together Mother Teresa's private letters spanning 6 decades and revealed a hidden truth. For nearly 50 years, she battled a profound spiritual crisis. Interestingly, these letters laid bare her inner turmoil and were preserved against her explicit wishes. She had ardently desired their destruction, shielding the world from her private battles. The Church, however, intervened, overriding her wishes. While Mother Teresa outwardly exuded cheerfulness, a stark contrast existed within. In her letters, she described her spiritual anguish as a living hell, expressing feelings of resentment towards a perceived spiritual dryness and even questioning God's presence. What is more attractive? Come Be My Light wasn't compiled by a skeptical outsider, but by Reverend Brian Kolodichuk, a senior member of the Missionaries of Charity and Mother Teresa's postulator, tasked with advocating for her sainthood. Reverend Kolodichuk compiled these letters. Let us examine the plot of the letter. How much of Mother Teresa's life and times were captured in the letters? After nearly 17 years of educating young minds in Kolkata with the Loreto sisters, a transformative shift awaited Agnes Gonsha Boyakshiu, known then as Mother Teresa. Though weary, she embarked on her customary annual retreat in September 1946, a 400-kilometer journey by train to Darjeeling, near the Himalayan foothills. During this retreat, a profound spiritual experience unfolded. In January 1947, Mother Teresa recounted a powerful message received in prayer from Archbishop Ferdinand Perrier. Jesus implored her with an unwavering commitment to answer her true calling. He wanted Indian nuns and preachers of charity spreading his love to the impoverished and marginalized. This calling wasn't without its challenges. Jesus acknowledged her shortcomings, suggesting her weakness and sinfulness could fulfill a divine purpose. Mother Teresa, with characteristic humility, surrendered her doubts and fears. She committed to being an instrument of God's grace, ready to venture into unfamiliar and arduous territory. Fueled by an unwavering conviction, she pursued her calling. It wasn't just about alleviating physical suffering, she envisioned a profound spiritual transformation for those she helped. While some influential figures, like Archbishop Ferdinand Perrier, initially harbored doubts, Mother Teresa's faith in her sacred mission remained unshakable. She navigated bureaucratic hurdles within the Catholic mission with strategic persuasion and spiritual zeal. During this challenging journey, she sought guidance through prayers and conversations with Christ, striving to understand her purpose. Mother Teresa also experienced mystical visions that solidified her chosen path and illuminated the way during moments of despair. Her confessor, Father Celeste van Exem, testified to the authenticity of her experiences. Now this is the most shocking part of the revelation. Mother Teresa's order, the Missionaries of Charity, has grown to include over 4,500 sisters operating in 139 countries. How bad were her dark days, and how did she overcome the darkness? Despite outward success, Mother Teresa's private letters to Father Van Exem revealed a different story. Even after securing a home for her burgeoning mission just 2 months in, a deep loneliness gnawed at her. She described a persistent sense of evil within her, an invisible burden she couldn't shake. Turning to Father Van Exem for solace and guidance, she pleaded for his prayers to dispel the sadness and doubt clouding her spirit. However, Teresa's unwavering faith, a cornerstone of her public persona, presented a significant challenge. Explaining her loyalty amidst a perceived absence of God proved difficult. Her inability to share her deepest struggles intensified her isolation. Begging for support, in maintaining her unwavering devotion, she confessed to being constantly bombarded by doubt and despair during this turbulent period. In desperate need of help, Teresa confided in a confessor, revealing the darkest depths of her theological crisis. Emotional pleas documented in letters, like one from 1959, questioned the core of her beliefs. This letter marks a turning point in Teresa's spiritual journey. It paints a raw picture of her wavering faith. In a desperate plea to God, she grappled with abandonment, hopelessness, and a profound sense of isolation.
St. John says, "How can you say that you love God, whom you don't see, if you do not love?"
Torn between a yearning for a divine connection and the suffocating weight of doubt, she lived in unbearable silence and darkness. Teresa's bravery lies in her unflinching honesty. She laid bare her inner turmoil, her struggle with God's seeming absence, and the constant barrage of doubt and confusion. Despite the fear of being ostracized for blasphemy, she couldn't silence the questions gnawing at her soul. Her ultimate desire was forgiveness and closeness to Jesus. Her heartfelt prayer for comfort became a cornerstone of her work. But did she find an instant comfort in her worries? No. As her influence grew, so did her spiritual loneliness. In a heartfelt letter to Father Perrier in 1953, Mother Teresa confided in him about an intense sadness that had shrouded her since starting her work with low-income people. Despite Perrier's reassurances, the melancholy persisted. This internal conflict remained a closely guarded secret. However, it manifested outwardly as a profound sense of isolation and spiritual hollowness. Her desperate pleas for solace and direction, evident in her letters, reveal a soul wrestling with doubt and a yearning for a connection that perpetually felt out of reach. Interestingly, her internal struggles raged on even as her missionaries of charity garnered global recognition. This spiritual turmoil led her to confide in a succession of spiritual advisors, including Father Van Exem, Father Perrier, Cardinal Picasci, and Reverend Joseph Neuner. This pattern resembles someone seeking a therapist who could guide them through her emotional darkness. During her periods of anguish, Mother Teresa felt an agonizing absence of Jesus' presence, further amplifying her pain. A brief flicker of hope emerged in 1958 with the death of Pope Pius XIV. Requiem masses held worldwide presented an opportunity for her work to receive official sanction. This reprieve from a decade of inner torment offered a fleeting light. Sadly, the darkness soon returned, settling over her once again. Do you know how Mother Teresa finally found a path out of her predicament? Here's how. The light of Christ outshone her darkness, as she revealed in a letter to Father Perrier around 1961. In the letter, Mother Teresa expressed newfound acceptance of long-standing spiritual darkness, starkly contrasting typical reactions to trauma. Unlike many who seek to escape suffering, Teresa embraced it as a faint echo of Christ's earthly torment. The spiritual guide by Father Perrier offered her 3 profound wisdoms. First, he acknowledged there was no earthly solution for her experience. Second, he helped her understand that Christ's absence wasn't a sign of his non-existence. Finally, he reassured her that her longing for God's presence confirmed his hidden presence within her. This revelation liberated Teresa from despair and ignited hope. She sensed a deeper purpose in her quest for God, her pain transforming into a symbol of faith and resilience. While the pain persisted, she found solace in the notion that her spiritual struggle mirrored Christ's on the cross. Teresa also informed Father Perrier of growing intimacy with an inner darkness that had gnawed at her spirit for years. Though her spiritual director, Father Perrier, played a crucial role in her journey, the pain persisted. Yet Teresa followed God's calling despite the absence of solace. This acceptance of her spiritual desolation became a cornerstone of her being, ultimately leading her to a life dedicated to serving the most vulnerable. Teresa also mentioned that her suffering might extend into the afterlife. Even in the face of her internal struggles, this unwavering dedication exemplifies the boundless compassion that won her global recognition. Notably, a Jesuit priest who observed her lengthy spiritual turmoil remarked that it wasn't a fleeting phase, but rather a permanent state she was meant to endure. Let us know your opinions in the comment section below, and thanks for watching. We will see you in the next video.